He had his gun, so he just swung it open.
I start to notice that, the atmosphere feels a little bit weird.
First thing he seen was this 6.5 foot tall, broad shoulder, dark hair. That freaked him out.
We hadn't talked to her about like life and death and what any of that means. She's 3 years old,
So we turned around. Suddenly there's a whole tree falling across the road.
And she was describing to us that, there was a deceased person that she could see visually.
You're listening to Cryptid Clues, where we tackle the ever-expanding history and mystery of monsters and supernatural madness every Monday. You can find us at CryptidClues.ca for more information, or even check out exclusive content and support us at patreon.com/CryptidClues.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Cryptid Clues. I am your host, Taylor, and today we're talking about something that was a major worldwide phenomenon a couple of weeks ago, the beautiful auroras caused by the 2024 solar storms. Before that, of course, quick plugs. You can find us on our website and social media channels, and should you wish to contact us directly, you can do so with email at cryptidclues@gmail.com. So, a few weeks ago, we had some crazy, beautiful colors shine in, not just on our skies over Canada, but throughout most of the world. And if you aren't privy to this event, I'll have some photos that I took display on the video version here that you can see if you're watching on our YouTube channel. But in short, what is the cause of these beautiful colors and even solar storms? And you're going to see how this kind of segues into our main topic here. But solar storms themselves are certainly not uncommon. They happen quite a bit, but such a storm of this scale is more along the rare side. The last one was dating back to around 2003, and these storms can have an array of wild technological setbacks on our planet. Solar storms, also referred to as geomagnetic storms, are caused when explosions of plasma and magnetic fields from the sun's corona are directed outward towards the Earth, which in turn triggers these beautiful aurora displays that we see in our skies. And as beautiful as these events are, as I mentioned prior, they can have negative effects on our technology. And in this specific instance, some self-operated tractors operating in the United States actually ceased their work schedule because the GPS guidance systems were terminated due to the storm. That's just one of the issues that occurred. So stronger storms could actually cause damage to satellites. They could even wipe out our power grids and cause worldwide internet blackouts. So there's a wide array of things that could happen if that storm gets a little bit too much momentum. And it's important to stay vigilant as well. In the event that the power does shut off, it's always good to make sure you're prepared for the unexpected. You want to make sure you have enough provisions to last at least 72 hours. Most people are sadly not packing the right essentials. They don't have those kits ready to go. So it goes a long way to have that coverage and to take things into your own hands to be comfortable. If you got kids, you got a family, you need to make sure that you can take care of them for a duration of time long enough to find help, find some support, get out there, get out of the area. And not just as a case of a solar storm. This applies to hurricanes, flooding, tsunamis, everything, like forest fires. I mean, here in British Columbia, we've been hit with flooding and forest fires, and it's just been a consistent thing. And so it's heavily promoted to always make sure you have that emergency kit ready to go. You want to have the batteries, the food, everything like that. And I digress. I'm rambling here, but it's just very important. So make sure you are prepared. But now it's stated that we are due for more solar activity, with the possibility of more beautiful auroras, but we'll have to see how that pans out. And that was from a report I was reading where they were talking about how there's going to be possibly some more beautiful auroras popping in the skies, and followed by these more frequent storms. But by now, like I said, you must be wondering why this focus on solar flares and auroras, especially weeks after the event. Well, I'm glad you asked, because just the other day on our local news stations, a gentleman put out a report of seeing something in the sky the night of the aurora. Now, this wouldn't be the second night. This was the first night. Now, he said he was apprehensive because he wasn't certain exactly what he saw or how others would feel, but he finally came around and decided that, maybe others would come out and talk about it too if they did see something based on what he saw. So I'm going to include the photo on the video version here. Also note there will be a blog post on our website with the show notes and the photos as well. So this man lives a few blocks away from our city's mall, and he was on his rooftop patio the night of the event, and it was between 10 and 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Note, he was not alone, but was with his family as well. And I quote, "We're just kind of waiting for the Aurora Borealis to show up, and we started seeing those groups of things just flying through the sky really fast. Eventually, we just decided to start filming some of them and caught some all in a row, all going the same speed." End quote. Now, this man lives a few blocks away, again, like I said, from our city's mall, and originally he was suspecting that maybe this is the Starlink satellites, which is a fair guess. I can say from my own deduction, it is not that. However, if you have viewed the attached footage here and have seen the satellites yourself, maybe you might identify and have a different perspective, which is totally justified, totally fair. So in this case, though, I'm very certain that it is different. And I quote, "These ones kind of seem to be flying together, but they would spread apart. Some are really low, below cloud level, and some are kind of up higher. Probably higher than the clouds would be, but it's really, really strange. I think my parents were just trying to throw out logical ideas as to what it could be because we all couldn't really believe that. They're just silent orbs flying through the sky. I've had a good amount of time to really sit and think about it. What the heck was that? And I can't think of anything other than something unusual, because it's not an aircraft and it's not satellites and it's not birds." End quote. So when you look at the Starlink satellites, you'll see a whole perfectly evened out line of about maybe like 20 lights. And it's just moving at an incredible speed. But based on the description here, they're moving and changing formation, and they're moving all together, which is very different because a satellite, satellites are, I can't say stationary, but they're locked in that trajectory with their counterparts. And so they're not going to have propulsion systems moving them to the left and then up and then to the right and then back down into formation. That's not how it works. Now, after this was published, others began submitting their photos and reports of what they saw. Coincidentally, others photographed the auroras and did not notice that there were odd lights until the next day when they heard about this report and they investigated their own photos. And sure enough, oh my goodness, they see these peculiar lights in their photographs. And I quote, "I too saw something strange when I went back to look at the pictures Saturday morning. These pictures were taken facing west, and I took the first attached picture at 11:39 p.m. The second picture was taken at 11:40 p.m. There are 3 strange objects now in the frame. I don't know what they are and thought maybe it's just an anomaly until I read your article and saw the video." End quote. So again, that is how we can confirm based on these people seeing these photos. Because initially you think, oh, well, if you took a photo, you're just going to think it's stars. But no, they took a photo 1 minute and there was blank. And then they took another photo directly after. And then all of a sudden there were dots that appeared in the frame. Now, not everyone shares the notion that this is something unknown. For some folks, they have already deduced it as drones. Case closed. And I quote, "I was taking pictures across the lake and, it was beautiful. I just noticed in one picture after it was all done that there was this white thing above the moon because the moon was down low, but there's this white thing. And so I kind of zoomed in and I think it's a drone. But then also I look back at some of the other pictures that I took and there are other white little dots in the picture. And 3 definitely, I don't know, they're not stars. So I kind of think that maybe it was drones. It's kind of weird." End quote. Can I personally confirm this as being UAPs? No. I cannot confirm that. Can I confirm them as being drones? No. But what I can confirm is the psychology behind rationalizing. Depending on the situation, it can be a positive or a negative, but in short, it acts as a way to provide a logical justification for unaccepted feelings or behaviors. It's just driven by a need for people to maintain a sense of consistency. So in the case of this mysterious lights that were appearing and the logic involved, some folks will just accept that they just don't know. And others will deduce that it has to be the most realistic, explainable thing possible. And this applies to cryptid encounters as well. Bigfoot, for example. how many people immediately think it's a bear? Until it does something you know a bear doesn't do. And these flying lights could move or do something drones cannot, but not many people know the limitations of drone technology yet. So that obviously inhibits a proper deduction of what we're looking at. And you could say, well, these lights are flying together. Drones can do that as well. And in fact, synchronized drone shows are exceptionally popular in cities across the world. And I quote, "I just want to give this guy some peace of mind that it probably was a drone." End quote. With the footage and photos provided, I know you can formulate your own position on what these could be. Of course, we will never truly know, but we can hypothesize, of course. While I speculate these could be drones, I also remain optimistic these are indeed UAPs. Why? Well, firstly, we have a rare cinematic event occurring. And like we saw with the eclipse not too long ago, a vast amount of UAP events took place. And this is something that Reuben actually took point on that episode he discovered, and we discussed it in that previous episode that's available on our feeds. We can also see how they move and change formations. To play devil's advocate here, if you have high-tech drones with 4K cameras mounted on them, you'll probably try to get that perfect photograph of this incredible event, but why do you need a full squadron of them? I mean, especially if one 4K drone is ridiculously expensive, just to have multiples doesn't make sense, especially if they're all side by side in that same angle. Now, my photos were taken with just a regular cell phone, and they turned out exceptionally good in my opinion. So again, why would anyone need at least 5 drones in sync flying around capturing these photos? It's peculiar if you ask me, but drones are not uncommon here. I've been out hiking when all of a sudden a drone pops up above me and hovers and watches me and then flies away. But they are very noisy. I don't doubt that there is silent drone tech out there, but from what I have heard from these encounters, now these lights, it's just, there's not a lot of sound involved. But I digress. I'm going to retrospectively speak here that since doing this show, I'm quite in awe with how consistent and persistent sightings have become with UAP UFOs. You know, we've explored a fair bit of history with them, only fueled by the frequency of reports in the present day. We can look back at last year with the unidentified weather balloons, and if you want to believe that they were weather balloons, it seems to be the go-to narrative ever since Roswell, New Mexico. But we have to ask the question, are these frequent sightings the result of a larger Earth population? More ease of communication through the internet? I've spoken with a few folks who have felt with no foundation and scientific backing to my knowledge, but purely based on intuition, maybe. Or perhaps it would be called a premonition, actually. But these sightings are leading to something. What could that be? Well beyond my current hypothetical thinking. But I don't dismiss it because very serious UAP, UFO events have taken place in our history. This doesn't mean aliens are landing or extraterrestrial confirmation, but let's look at the Battle of Los Angeles. And this is definitely a very convoluted topic. And I'm not talking about the 2011 film starring Aaron Eckhart, but the real event that took place back in 1942. Now, this took place less than 3 months after the United States entered World War II in response to Pearl Harbor. And what was at first speculated to be an aerial barrage from an attacking Japanese force quickly transitioned into a false alarm, and that the root of the cause was due to war nerves from a lost weather balloon. Are you seeing a pattern here with these weather balloons? While some press outlets suspected a cover-up of the truth, an editorial in the Long Beach Independent wrote, and I quote, "There is a mysterious reticence about the whole affair, and it appears that some form of censorship is trying to halt discussion on the matter." End quote. This whole event resulted in air raid sirens, machine guns, and anti-aircraft shells firing into the night sky, resulting in damage to nearby buildings, and even killing 5 civilians indirectly as the shells were coming back and landing on the ground. As I mentioned before, this event was declared a false alarm. But days later, the United States Department of War claimed at least 1 to 5 unidentified aircraft were over the city of Los Angeles that night. I say this in relation to what I proposed, that sightings become more frequent towards a buildup of a climatic scenario. Whether authentically UFO or UAP related or not, the scenario remains climatic. And during World War II, many UFO sightings took place. We have pilots engaging in the theater of war, and I've mentioned this term a long time ago, but the frequency of UFO UAP sightings in Europe became so consistent that Allied aircraft pilots dubbed these unidentified objects as Foo Fighters. it's truly fascinating and very incredible that we're at this time where things are becoming more prominent. And again, the weather balloon thing, if you look at Canada, that just drives me nuts. How, oh yeah, weather balloon shot down over in the Northwest Territories, Yukon, and yada, yada, yada. It just makes me suspicious. And I'm curious what you think. Do you speculate that it's all drones, coincidence, and maybe it's just a tendency of more people just being aware of what's above their heads? Our population is growing, and our cities are growing, and more people are expanding. And so people are collectively consciously, I feel like, becoming more aware and looking up to the skies and seeing more things. And again, we did this episode not too long ago where we have it was a case of our airline pilots in central Canada, and it really took me back a little bit because they were reporting all on their radios together that they were seeing these objects moving around their planes. I'm going to play a quick little clip here just so you can catch it.
Hey, Winnipeg, Canada 786. 7086, go ahead. Aircraft 12 o'clock, same altitude. Is that one ours?
It's a flare flight.
Sorry, somebody going flight 600? Yeah, check Canada 786. Do you guys see these lights, 12 o'clock? See something, flashing lights, around 11:30, flight 600. Yeah, forming triangles, and then flying away and coming back. Big bright light that's coming towards us, slightly above us, flight 600. More or less 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 600. Take from Canada 786. Do you have any traffic out there?
No, I had one other report 10 minutes ago from a Morningstar flight east of Regina. Reported the same thing. Her best guess was around somewhere around flight level 500, and thought it might be somewhere north of Winnipeg. So yeah, do you have a guess as to what you might think the altitude is?
Hard to tell, just because the evening, I'd say she's probably pretty accurate, but they keep forming up in a triangle, and then it's pretty odd.
Okay, yeah, no, that's the second report then, and yeah, there's no active airspace, military airspace, anything like that we're aware of. I honestly have no idea what that might be.
Oh, good.
If you want more detailed information on those accounts, definitely you can find that episode on our feeds. It's definitely a really, really good listen. Reuben didn't know anything about it, so I just presented all of the clips. It's available to listen to the entire thing online, but I basically listened to it and chopped up the most significant parts. I thought, okay, this is crazy, and inserted it into the episode. But yeah, there's a little audio clip taste for you, so you can catch that. But yeah, it's just truly. It's truly fascinating. We're at this time now where it seems like things are becoming much more heightened and hopefully not excessively climatic, but maybe there's just a little bit of interest going on in whatever is going up above our heads that it warrants a little bit of observation. Again, that's me being very bold with my opinion and perspective. To each his own. We all just have to take in the information and just formulate our own thoughts and our own stance. Because for all we know, maybe this is just drones flying around the Okanagan and it wasn't really anything. But I digress. That is it, ladies and gentlemen, for this week's episode. Thank you for tuning in. It will certainly be interesting to see what develops in the near future and how many more weather balloon accidents we have and how many more solar storms occur. I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks here because I've finally lined up. I mentioned this a while ago. I finally lined up. A lady is going to be joining me, and it'll be a nice encounters episode. She's going to recount an experience with her parents that her parents had when they were out camping regarding a possible Sasquatch encounter. So that'll be something to stay tuned and look for on our feeds. Until then, you can find us on our website, CryptidClues.ca, our social media channels, X, YouTube, Facebook, and Patreon. And should you wish to contact us directly, you can do so via CryptidClues@gmail.com. So until next time, everyone, take care and stay safe.